What's up, guys? Thanks for coming to Gaming Canada with me. Today, I'm bringing you part 2 of my 6,000 subscriber Q&A. If you haven't seen part 1, please go down to the link in the description and check it out. Right off the bat, I just want to say thank you to everyone that provided a question for this Q&A, and I'm sorry I couldn't get to all the questions. There was literally almost 100. If you want me to do a future Q&A when we hit maybe 8K subs or 10K subs, go down to the comments and let me know. The gameplay you see is Breath of the Wild. I don't want to waste too much of your time, so let's jump right into this. Let's jump right into this with question number 1 from ASK Games. What's up, ASK? What is the first game you have ever played? Now, the first game that I can remember playing as a kid was on the Super Nintendo, and it was Super Mario All-Stars, which was a combination cartridge that had Super Mario 1, 2, 3, and the Lost Levels on it. And I gotta say, probably Super Mario 3 was the first game that I can actually remember playing. Closely followed by Donkey Kong Country, which I had mentioned before, possibly in one of my live streams, where me and my dad had beaten Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo a long time ago. I gotta say, this was probably in like 1994, 5, or 6. Actually, you know what? Thinking about it, I very well might have played Centipede on Atari before any of that, using the joystick. I do recall being very young and getting a super high score on Centipede. Oh my goodness, that was so long ago. We actually ended up selling that Atari system to one of my brother's friends at a yard sale, I do believe. It was pretty faulty and didn't really play that well, although we potentially could have fixed it, maybe with a little bit of know-how I have now. But maybe I'll get another Atari someday. I'll keep my eye out, who knows. Mindstars wants to know, how many 3DS consoles do you own and have you ever bricked one? This is a fairly simple question, as I only own one 3DS, and it is the red new 3DS XL that you guys see in all of my videos. I've never bricked it, other than the one time I intentionally soft bricked it for a video, just to show you guys how to unbrick. Bob the Guy asks, first video game console you had, or the game you struggled the most to finish? So the first video game console I had, I shared with my brother, which was the Super Nintendo. Technically we did have the Atari, but I think it was my dad's. The game I struggled the most to finish, honestly, it's probably a toss-up between Breath of the Wild, as I have nowhere near all of the Koroks, and I have nowhere near all of the shrines, and I don't even have any of the memories or anything, and I've played the game a ton, you know what I mean? And I'm nowhere close to being finished it. Another example might be Pokemon Sun, as I have had Pokemon Sun since Christmas, and I've played it a ton, but somehow I just haven't beaten it yet. Kawaii Chris says, is there any way to downgrade from 11.5 that you're aware of? If you do not have custom firmware and you do not have a hard mod, then it's impossible to downgrade a 3DS or a 2DS or an old 3DS. Raj wants to know, when will custom firmware release for the 3DS? Custom firmware will release for the 3DS potentially in the next 1 to 2 years. The people that are behind the kernel exploits for the 3DS do not want these exploits to be patched by Nintendo until Nintendo forgets about the 3DS. They want, in the future, anyone that gets a 3DS, say 3, even 4, 5 years down the line, to be able to get a 3DS from a pawn shop, no matter what version it's on, and go ahead and hack it with a simple tutorial on the internet, such as the 3ds.guide. So if these developers release these kernel exploits while Nintendo is still releasing updates, they will simply just patch it, and then in the future we might eventually run out of kernel exploits and no one will be able to hack the 3DS. So we might as well just wait a little bit of time. I know it kind of sucks, but that's just how it is. Champion Lance asks, when is the next free homebrew launch? I'm going to go ahead and use this question to provide some speculation on the next homebrew launch, as well as mention Mr. NBA Yo's Flipnote hacks has actually been released. So if you happen to already have Flipnote Studio 3D and you're still on 11.5, you didn't update to 11.6, go check out my video for Mr. NBA Yo's note hacks and get yourself homebrew on your 11.5 device. Originally, when Champion Lance asked this question, Mr. NBA Yo hadn't released note hacks yet, so I'm including it now so that I can speculate on when the next hack will come out, because a lot of people updated to 11.6 and they don't have homebrew yet. So potentially on 11.6 you could go ahead and get Cubic Ninja, or Freaky Forms. I believe they're both still working on 11.6 if you really wanted to get Homebrew that badly. It's not really worth it, honestly, to pay that much money for Cubic Ninja or for Freaky Forms. I do believe some more free methods will come out in the future, but honestly, not for a couple of more months. There has been absolutely no talk whatsoever from anybody mentioning that they're working on exploits, but you never know. Shiny Rodham asks, can you install FBI on 3DS 11.5 for just legit CIA files, no custom firmware, just Homebrew launcher? The answer is technically you can get FBI, but it doesn't have permission to do anything. If you want to learn more about that, I'll put a link to my video in the description explaining a bit about custom firmware versus Homebrew. But basically, you just don't have the proper permissions to install legit CIA files. You used to be able to do this in the past on 11.2 and 11.3 because we had kernel exploits. Now, this doesn't mean that you installed custom firmware, but if you had a Homebrew launcher, you could utilize the kernel exploits that existed to install legit CIA files. This is a Wii U question from LG Games. Can you somehow get Brain Age for free for Haxchi? Now, this is regarding getting custom firmware permanently on your Wii U, and basically you buy a virtual console DS game and you can install a hack into it that allows you to boot custom firmware or the Homebrew launcher. Now, you cannot get this game for free because if you used one of the methods to pirate it and you tried to boot the game without custom firmware, you would get an error since you need custom firmware to boot pirated games. There is one method to get this game for free, and I think it requires you have created a Nintendo account for your Wii U in 2014 and you live in a European region. I believe then if you go into the eShop, you might be able to get the game for free. Just note, it's not called Brain Age in PAL region. I believe it's called Brain Training. Grimasaur asks, what's your favorite band/music genre? And Nuclear Punishment asks, are you a hipster or a metalhead? So my favorite band is probably Circa Survive. My favorite genre is probably hip-hop. Am I a hipster or a metalhead? Probably a little bit of both, but I did it before it was cool. Jeremy Rodriguez asks, do you watch anime? If so, what's your favorite? Now, this is a pretty hard question to ask as I watch a wide variety of anime and I love a lot of them. A few that I could think off the top of my head, obviously Death Note, Elfen Lied, Durarara, EF, A Tale of Melodies, A Tale of Memories, Naruto, Avatar, Clannad, De Capo, Full Metal Alchemist, any of them, Brotherhood or the OG one, Cardcaptor Sakura, Hunter x Hunter, of course. Oh, there's literally just too many. Initial D. So yeah, I definitely like anime a little bit, and I definitely have seen a few. Raphael wants to know, what is your favorite TV show ever? My favorite TV show ever is probably a toss-up between Friends and Seinfeld. I'm gonna put Seinfeld maybe just a little bit higher than Friends, but I love them dang near equally. I used to sit in my basement late at night and Seinfeld would play at random different times. Let me think, probably like 10 to 11 it would play, and then it would play sometime again on at 12, I think, maybe 12:30, and then again from 3 o'clock till 4 a.m. And in between there was also a bunch of episodes of Friends. So you also catch me eating dinner on a Friday night. We buy some McDonald's and we'd be eating in the living room on little TV trays, watching Friends. Couple of questions from Snap. What is your favorite hack in general? Wii U, Nintendo 3DS, or the Wii? My favorite hack is definitely the Wii U, as it's the simplest to do, or at least it was on 5.5.1. As I said in my last Q&A, I was absolutely mind blown to find out all you had to do was go to a link and then tap a button, and the next thing you know, you were in the Homebrew launcher. That blew my mind, absolutely. 3DS is also pretty simple. Back when I hacked the original Wii, it was crazy hard. You had to use like Twilight Princess, and you had to like go into a save file and then start the hack. It was like Oot Hacks, but with Twilight Princess. So it was interesting. And luckily I had the game, so I was able to do it, but it's much simpler now, I do believe. Another question from Snap is, in your stream you talked about your father passing away. Do you care to elaborate? Around Christmas, my father passed away from cancer, and, you know, it's been a tough time. but we've managed to get through it here. I want you guys to know that when someone leaves, they're never really gone. It's only in the physical sense that they're gone. Their spirit, their whatever essence that makes them who they were or who they are on this side or the other becomes part of you. And you can forever live on with that person in you. You get to spend all of your time with that person. You can ask them questions. You can reflect on it. Sometimes if you're missing them, before you go to bed, close your eyes and ask them to visit you. And sometimes they'll come and hang out in your dreams if you're ready to see them. Sometimes you're not quite ready, and maybe it would affect you more negatively. So don't think it's bad if they don't come to visit you. Think of it as you're not quite ready. You're not quite in a place where you're able to see that person again. If any of you guys are going through any troubles, please reach out to me. I don't want to say I'm any kind of expert or anything like this, but I do have some words oftentimes for people, and I might have the right words for you at the right time. You never know. Red Assassin asks, would you ever go skydiving? Now, would I ever go skydiving? I gotta say, at this point in my life, I have pretty much no desire to free fall out of the sky. Although, if the opportunity were to arise, I honestly don't think I could make a decision until it was there. The future holds endless possibilities, and you never want to cut yourself off from one of those infinite paths by saying, I would never do insert whatever here. You know what I mean? Last question of the Q&A is from Ice Crystal, and it is a bunch of questions, so I'm just going to speed run through it. Number 1, are you playing Overwatch? No, I'm not. 2, do you have a console such as Xbox or PlayStation? No, I do not. 3, are you still banned on your 3DS? Yes, I am, but Zigify did give me a local friend seed code that I could potentially use. Number 4, do you have Steam? Yes, I do have Steam. Number 5, are you going to buy the new 2DS XL? No, probably not, unless I get a little bit of extra money. Donate. Why aren't you guys donating? And then potentially, I would maybe get one just to check it out. It would be awesome to stream wirelessly with one just because they're so slick looking. I hope you guys have enjoyed. We're literally almost at 8K subscribers. This is absolutely crazy. We're on par to beat 10K before Christmas. I'm really excited about that. If you guys like this and you want to see more Q&As in the future, please go down to the comments and let me know. If you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, please do that. It would be awesome. I would really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next video. Much love. Peace.